What's up, folks? This is Max from HighOnAndroid.com, where we get Hoi on Android every day. Anyway, I did that test just now with the Note 4 versus the S5 versus the OnePlus One. Now, since the Galaxy S5 uses 1080p screen along with the OnePlus One, it probably wasn't a fair test, so I'm going to redo the test with the LG G3. And also, I just received my T-Mobile Note 4. This is a Sprint Note 4. And I do see the score differences between even the two different carrier Note 4s. So I'm not sure what's going on, but let's go ahead and do Quadrant and Antutu for all of these three phones. And look at some of the results here. And this should tell us a little bit better since the LG G3 also has Quad HD screen, just like the Note 4. So it should be more of a fair test. But the LG G3, of course, has the predecessor Qualcomm 801 processor clocked at 2.5 gigahertz versus 2.7 gigahertz. Actually, it's more like 2.66 or something like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and do it. And this should tell us a little bit better since they both use the same number of pixels. And this should be more of a fair test. I think the number of display pixels actually do kind of affect the benchmark scores. Obviously, there's more pixels to deal with, but we'll definitely find out here and see which one wins. And you can see that Note 4 is just killing the LG G3. Again, they're all running stock firmware, and yeah, the Note 4 is just killing the LG G3. And all of these are on full screen, and you can kind of also see the screen, how bright it is. The Note 4 is much brighter. And let's go and take a look at results. And the results for the Note 4 is nearly identical: 24,376, 24,533, 23,847. Actually, not too shabby for the LG G3 with the older Qualcomm 801 processor. But one thing to note is that the jump from Qualcomm 800 to 801 was I think 15% jump versus 801 to 805. It was a rather smaller jump. Even though the number jumped up like 4 points, the actual performance was actually probably less than 10%. So that could be why. And we could see that maybe the Qualcomm 805 processor isn't as fast. It's not a major upgrade, which just kind of sucks for those of you who just bought the Note 4. But I mean, it's still faster. But let's go ahead and do Antutu. And I'm going to go ahead and close out all of these other applications. Here we go. And let's do Antutu, which I think is actually more accurate in my previous testings. Antutu is probably way more accurate, but also another thing to note with Antutu is that they just recently updated their app, so the test might be also off a little bit. And let's do this. They recently changed something with their benchmarking, so that could have put off all the benchmarks, so maybe Antutu isn't the best thing to use. I'm not exactly sure. That's why I'm doing this test here with the LG G3. But the Quadrant test, it seems like it's kind of on par, more or less, as far as what we're expecting. But obviously the OnePlus One outperformed the Note 4 with Antutu with benchmark scores of like 47,000. And I've actually seen Note 4 benchmark scores, the beta versions, without the like T-Mobile or Sprint blower. The international versions might score higher. It could be due to the carriers adding their own blower, and they probably messed up some code, and that's where the performance hindrance or performance, I don't know. Anyway, let me go ahead and fast forward this, and let's look at the results. Alright, the results are in, and as you can see, my LG G3 performs not that great, 36,000 versus my Sprint Note 4 did 44,000, T-Mobile 41,000. So now I can get a good idea why the scores are much lower I believe it's because of the Quad HD screen, which has almost double the pixels. And let's actually look at the details here. RAM, and actually let's just look at these two here. And let's go look at the graphics here. That's where probably also the CPU, multi-thread versus the LG G3 right there. The numbers for CPU integer about, actually the LG G3 did better with the multi-thread. Single thread, the Note 4 did better. And the GPU, this is where it makes a huge difference. You can see the 3D graphics of almost 15,000 versus 10,000. So I think we can safely say that the Quad HD screens do hinder the performance on your phone. And that's probably why a lot lower scores, versus the OnePlus One when we did it. So that kind of, shows us that it's the graphics, So I wouldn't worry about it if you get a lower score. Obviously, you have a Quad HD screen on the LG G3 or Note 4. Don't be alarmed, and just go on your way. I mean, there is always disadvantages when you're getting something new. It's a sacrifice for the Quad HD. I mean, you're literally sacrificing your performance of your phone. But I mean, it's still a really fast phone. But right now, my preference is getting like a faster phone like the OnePlus One that has 1080p screen with 805. So probably the killer phone of the year, I would say, with the best price would be, instead of focusing on Quad HD that we actually don't really need right now, perhaps manufacturers should make a 1080p screen with the latest 805 processor. And that would actually be better, and you'll get longer battery life. And I've said it a bunch of times, but the 1080p is still good enough to do most things. There's no apps that supports Quad HD yet. So anyway, that's just a quick test I did. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, don't forget to subscribe if you like this video, and as always, stay high on Android.